Welcome back. My name's James Johnson. This is my lovely mother, LaDonna.
Hi.
We've read the first 5 books of the Song of Ice and Fire series, seen the first 7 seasons of the Game of Thrones television series, and tonight the first episode of the 8th season will premiere. So we wanted to pump these out beforehand. We love you. Thank you for joining us. We've been doing this for 5.5 years. It's going to be over soon regarding the television show, though the books will have a lot in them. This will be giving us the general gist of everything. So, this one is called Harrenhal and the God's Eye, or something similar to that. This is actually pretty sweeping, so I'm going to get down to the nitty-gritty about what happens. We're really just going to talk about broad strokes and some stuff that we think is going to happen near the end of this. So, start by talking about Cersei. Cersei is at King's Landing. She has nobody left on her side except for alleged. The only people she could consider possibly on her side are the unborn child within her, Jaime Lannister, and Littlefinger. Qyburn, you're 100% right. Littlefinger is dead, but Arya is not. Littlefinger's face was not destroyed. Arya will be sending herself to Cersei one way or another and will be under the guise of Littlefinger. Littlefinger was given Harrenhal. Cersei believes there's no one left for her, and the people already hate her. That's been mentioned many times. They're also going to be starving. However this happens, whether through Littlefinger's convincing her, and Littlefinger is the Lord of Harrenhal, or through her own decision-making, she is going to leave King's Landing in order to go to Harrenhal because it is the safest place for her.
And she blew up King's Landing.
And she blew up King's Landing. Watch that other video. So, which would be more, I'm leaving. I'm going to blow it up when I leave. So she goes to Harrenhal, and she goes to Harrenhal because it is the safest place for her. It has been mentioned many times as a place that cannot be infiltrated from the ground. Yes, it can be infiltrated by dragons, not only the Night's King, but also Dany and Jon. However, a couple of things. Number one, she doesn't know the Night's King has a dragon. Number two, she is going to get the Golden Company. And the Golden Company is a mercenary band. She owes no allegiances to them. And she, in my opinion, will be sending them north to destroy the forces of the living. Because if she can hole up in Harrenhal and wait out the winter, all of this will be over as long as Dany and them don't come back. Harrenhal has been mentioned many times in the books and television show as being a place that people allegedly went mad, whether because it was created as a huge city, and it is so large as to be unmanageable and inevitably ends up with smaller and smaller circles of inhabitants there until before you know it, it is one family and one keep.
And that is the place where Arya and Gendry were there and were being tortured. It's where Jaqen H'ghar killed some guards, and he killed the ones at the door so they could escape. It's the burned out place. It
looks super eerie. It's burned out. However, the walls still stand. There's also the mention of the woman who was there previously, who bathed in the blood of virgins. I can't remember. Lady Went bathed in the blood of virgins, had a bat as its sigil. It's got this vampire mystique, but ultimately it is a location where isolation is inevitable and madness results. Cersei has nobody. She's alone in this place in a tower. And let me add, if she knew about the if she knows dragons are coming, we have the scorpions mentioned, the giant crossbow bolts. It would not be too far-fetched for her to have them built on certain towers in order to take down dragons if they attacked. I'm going to lead to something in that, but really we're talking about broad strokes here. You don't have to buy into any of this, and we don't know. I've said this in so many videos recently. It's important for us to stress. We know we don't know. We talk because we enjoy it, and sometimes we end up with things we believe are likely or cool, and are more confident about some than others. So these are broad strokes. We're just talking here. So Cersei is at Harrenhal. The only people at Harrenhal that are on her side now are Qyburn and Littlefinger, and who knows if all this is going to happen. But what a perfect opportunity for Arya as this faceless man and person who can lie strongly and who can read people to manipulate the hell out of Cersei and make her go even more mad. I'm going to cut away and go to the north. At the north, everybody on Jon and Dany's side arrives. We end up with a bunch of stuff happening as far as people meeting each other, having a plan for the battle, the dragons, the who's under whose oaths, John potentially finding out who he is, Dany finding out she's pregnant. I mean, the Hound and Sansa, so many things culminating all at once. Jaime is going to go to Riverrun and ultimately try to go up north, some combination thereof. He's going to Riverrun to get the Tully forces.
And apologize to Edmure for being an ass.
I mean, and we can talk about that. We almost wanted to do a video on that, but we're running out of time. So at Winterfell, there will be a giant battle and the humans will lose. And the way that they escape, and you can see it partly in the trailer, is through the crypts. It has been mentioned multiple times that the crypts, no one knows where they end. It goes on forever.
Maester Lewin told Theon. Theon said, "How am I going to get out of here?" When he took Winterfell and all the other troops turned against him. And Lewin said, "There are ways. There are underground tunnels here."
Bran literally escaped through them. He hid in them. He didn't escape through them. In the TV show, he came out literally atop it.
But there were a lot of allusions about how big those crypts were in the books.
And distances, Rickon disappears into them for long periods of time and then comes back out. So they will be escaping through those tunnels. Now, think about this. They've lost this battle. They're wounded and they're leaving, trekking across snow. They are in dire straits. They're practically refugees. Now, if you were Cersei and you had the Golden Company to which you owe no allegiances, you believe you're going to a location that the dead cannot get in, the only thing you're concerned about are the forces of living who can come back and kill you with potentially dragons, you send your Golden Company to slaughter the people above you. Now, she may not know where that battle will take place or how it takes place, but now you're refugees who have just lost a battle to save the world. And on your way back, you would get attacked by a massive force with elephants and horses. What a horror to witness. And this plays into Dany's, in my opinion, ultimate choice to join the Night's King, that humans create their own horrors and that Dany can create a better life for everybody through the Night's King. Again, a million different threads all tied together. Where would they go? First of all, they may find out that King's Landing's blown up. Harrenhal is the right place for them to go for the same reason it is for Dany. And let me add, now picture this whole force of refugees having barely won another battle against humans when they're trying to fight for the world. And I don't know what happens with the Golden Company. Either they go back to Cersei after they've lost, or they end up being told, you're trapped here now. The only option you have is to join Dany and Jon fighting the Night's King for the final battle. But let me add something my mom pointed out the other night. If the Golden Company were to go back to Cersei and King's Landing is blown up, Cersei's going crazy, the same thing that happened to Stannis' sellswords would make sense to happen to Dany's, to go, you're fucking crazy and we want no part in it. We're out. Okay. I also want to add that I could
which was foreshadowed by Bronn saying to Jaime, "I'm not staying." And Jaime's going, "What are you talking about? You're my sellsword." And he goes, "Not against dragons, I'm not."
Let me add another theory. If the Citadel were ultimately to see proof of the undead, they would inevitably, in my opinion, join the side that fights that. And after seeing that Cersei's blown up Queen King's Landing and that she goes to Harrenhal for isolation, etc., they have many reasons to not be on her side in the very least. And again, Cersei is a creature of spite. I could totally see her sending the Greyjoys to destroy the Citadel, which is the center of all information in Westeros. It's like the burning of the Library of Alexandria. Information lost forever, which leads to Sam writing the history book that defines the future, defines the history for the sake of the future. And that's the book we're reading. And it's the reason why you see that floating. I forget the term for it, but when you watch the map at the beginning of the episodes, what's it called?
Astrolabe.
Astrolabe? Labe. Floating there, and you also see it in the library. It's because he's looking at these maps and writing the story, potentially with divine inspiration from Bran telling him things that happened in the past. So Cersei is now completely isolated. The only persons she may have on her side are Qyburn, who may leave also because she's going insane. The Mountain, I forgot to mention the Mountain, who is a mindless force, and Littlefinger, and she's going crazy. She has nobody on her side. She's so isolated in this location with no one around here. And the dead are coming too, and there's a force outside her door that she knows she's betrayed because she didn't fulfill the oath previously.
The wolf knocking at the door.
The wolf at the door, and we believe that's both Dany and Jon. Certainly Jon. It's a metaphor. It doesn't really matter. Are outside her gates. To her, she has lost everything and the enemy is at the gates. The wolf is at the door, which is exactly what situation she was in when she almost poisoned Tommen and poisoned herself. Happened almost again later. And you can go watch our video about Cersei's final moments, whatever the previous one is about Cersei and Jaime, to figure out what we think is going to happen there. But to lead to that, you are now Jon and Dany's forces outside this gate. And you're having a conversation about how to do this. We could invade. Okay, if we invade, what do we get out of it? Add the potential for the scorpions to be on the walls. They could kill a dragon. Discussions back and forth of the potential to invade Harrenhal. You can't invade Harrenhal. Perhaps we drop people in. Multiple different options. Think of Tyrion at King's Landing at the Dragon Pit talking to Dany and Jon about how they convince Cersei to join them. Tyrion says, I've got to go. It's not Tyrion, though. It's Jaime, the only person that they think Cersei might trust. Jaime goes in, probably with the Hound, with Brienne, and we find out then the scene happens previously that was mentioned about in the previous episode we made about Brienne and Jaime and Cersei and the baby and all that happens. Go watch that video. So once Harrenhal is taken, in my opinion, there's two main things I wanted to mention in this video that in my opinion will happen. Number one, in the trailer, and it makes sense, in my opinion, Arya is going to be sent to Winterfell to kill the Night's King. That's why she's handed the dagger in that episode, the obsidian dagger, which she says, death has many faces. I look forward to meeting this one. And the scenes with her running through the hallways with a wound on her head, you can see in her hand is a dragonglass dagger.
Yeah, it's not Cat's fault. We pulled it up.
She is trapped and trying to kill the Night's King, and she will die.
No. That's not this video.
I never would have survived what you survived. You would have. We'll never know. Yes, we will. I mean, who the hell knows? But Arya's going to die. So, that was the one of the things I wanted to mention about it. Also, the Night's King, what does he want? In our opinion, we differ slightly on this. In my opinion, we have seen such horror in the show in order to paint such horrible people, in order for the Night's King's good motives to be viewed that much more goodly, that he doesn't intend to hurt humanity. Humanity's hurting itself. He's offering a final solution. And if he gets to the God's eye with all the werewoods, he is at the center of the brain. I don't want to go too deep into it. The God's eye is where the final battle will happen. Despite all I've just said about Harrenhal, the God's eye is where the final battle will happen. Here's the other thing I want to mention at Harrenhal. We're going to see grayscale start to return. And we won't know why or where it's coming from, and we will end up finding out that there's an asymptomatic carrier. We did a video called Disease a long time ago that talked about that. I would urge you to go watch it. I don't remember who I said it was in the video at the time. In my opinion, we're going to find out it's Dany. It may be Tyrion. Tyrion was touched not only on the leg, but potentially by Jorah. So Tyrion may be an asymptomatic character. It could be Jorah, because Jorah had it and no longer has it, but could still be a carrier. And it's also Dany, because I think twice Jorah touches Dany while Jorah is infected. He picks her up helps her down at the gladiatorial arena in Meereen.
He did.
So this is also a reference to Jon Snow. Go watch the Disease video, explains all of it.
I'm not in on that theory.
I know. We're talking here and we're running out of time before this episode starts and the things we need to do. So, what is if the Dragon of the Night's King can take down the walls of Harrenhal, what's the difference? And we know that White Walkers can't cross water. We presume that they can't cross water. The God's Eye is a better location. In my opinion, it makes a lot of sense for them to go to the God's Eye. Bran may believe he has to go to the God's Eye. Also want to mention that in the trailer, there's a scene where Bran and Sam are facing each other. Sam's facing away from the camera, and Sam turns his head and breathes, and you see the mist come out of his mouth. You can't tell from that scene for sure, but that is an absolute, in my opinion, that is probably Bran saying they're here. And Sam turning and having the breath come out, because it's exactly what Mira did in the
cave with Hodor.
Boom. It's how she knew that there was something wrong and went outside and found the Night's King. So we end up with everything happening at the God's Eye. The God's Eye Pact, which you said in previous videos, in my opinion, was a marriage between the Starks, between the first men and the children of the forest to unite their houses against the White Walkers at the very beginning. And that is a merging of houses for a treaty, which we've had repeated many times. It's also a reference to Dany ultimately joining the Night's King. And it is how the Starks are able to warg. They have children of the forest blood in them. It's also the Reeds are even more related to them. And then at the end, we have the battle, the final battle, which will be the noble betrayal we talked previously about. Also in the interim, we have Dany joining the Night's King, because it is the end of horror for all mankind, immortality at peace, no hunger, no anger, no hatred, no fear. The White Walkers have language and they have art. It's my opinion that their free will is only subverted by their godly dictator when necessary. It is a true fascist, a perfect fascist state, and Dany is trying to do this for everybody. And they will have a meeting where Dany and Jon and a few select people go to meet with the Night's King, and it's revealed that he's not trying to hurt them. We've done so many videos on this, it's insane. Dany will join, and also my mom talked about a potential theory that take me for a hostage, but let whoever go, which is what Catelyn said about Robb. Why would I let him do that? And the Night's King accepts Dany as a hostage, and ultimately Dany, through this situation, realizes what is being offered, and she could potentially join the Night's King and find a better world. We also get Jon potentially going back to everybody, and as a king having to decide whether we also have the Dany and Jon dichotomy of Jon is also supposed to be in charge. Dany, by joining the other side, could be solidifying her greater claim to the throne. Jon is potentially a rival. And Jon has to go back and ask everybody if they want to leave, or he can keep it secret and make the choice for them. But what's the right choice? To tell everybody they have a choice of immortality, save a child, save an old person, etc.? Would you let somebody leave your country to fight for the opposite side if they asked to? Or do you kill them right there? Do you allow them to return? It's the ISIS soldiers returning. There's no good answer to these things. If they literally fought against us, I'm not trying to say what the answer is, but this is a complex moral question. If they literally fought against us and killed people, it seems like the necessary thing is to end the potential for that to occur again. If they were tangentially, or if they were secondarily related, like the ISIS wives, the women who left to join ISIS, I mean, many of them were tortured. So where do you draw that line? And then you talk about even more tertiary. Is it wrong to be a medical doctor treating people on the other side? I mean, they're not good answers to these. All right, I've pretty much exhausted this, and then you can go back to the noble dishonor to see how this ultimately ends, as well as Dany's child and Bran's free will. And I'd like to make a video about Dany's choices and why she would choose the Night's King, but that's not this video. I'm sure I missed a lot. Also, the God's Eye is a representation of Macumbo, the blue-eyed giant. It's the Eye of God, not only because Bran stays there at the end. So there's so many different things.
Okay. If you will bring that map up, Jamie,
yes,
if you don't mind. Folks, I'm going to talk to you very quickly. I'm going to try not to rehash what James says. James, will you?
Yes.
Okay, can they see that
yes.
now? Okay, this is the map of Westeros in the middle area. You'll see King's Landing and Black.
I'm just showing them the whole thing.
Okay, let me back up.
Yeah.
Okay. Can they see your pointer
yes.
going around? Okay. See Harrenhal, and you see the Crossroads Inn is right above it. That's where Hot Pie was, and everybody went there. But go down to Harrenhal. That's that big, dark, burned castle where Tywin and Arya were. Isle of Faces in the God's Eye. The God's Eye is a lake. The Isle of Faces is an island. It's been mentioned a few times in the show. Here, David. Use this one. But if you look farther down, you'll see King's Landing to the right with Blackwater Bay. If Cersei does blow it up, if she has an alternate plan, they're going to go to Harrenhal. And again, it's a cursed place. Remember, Tywin gave it to Littlefinger a long time ago. I do believe that Arya is going to have his face and is going to tell Cersei that I've got a safe place for you. Come here. I don't want to get into a discussion with you, James, but I don't think the Golden Company is going any farther north than Harrenhal, and that will be all they go. At any rate, remember that Harrenhal, despite the fact that it's burned, can hold back 1 million troops. It can hold back 1 million people. It's been said 2 or 3 times on the show. Not an airstrike, but it can hold back troops. That means that the White Walkers and the Whites can't get through. They might be able to climb it, maybe, but that would take a lot of time. Now, it was Ms. Went, Lady Went, who bathed in blood to keep herself young, but like James says, the castle is so big you cannot keep it up. You end up living smaller rooms, become isolationist, and you ultimately die. It's a cursed place, and I still need that map up.
Okay, but we're gonna keep the map up for the rest of the video?
Just for 1 more second.
Okay.
Okay, and the Wents, by the way, are related to the Tullys. I think that they were, one of them was Kat's grandmother. At any rate, look at that again one more time, the Isle of Faces. Remember, it looks like an eye. It's God's eye. And that little Isle of Faces would be the pupil in the eye. Okay, now you can take it back off, honey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother.
I'm going to tell you a couple of things. You'll remember that Rob said that to Bran, that there was a mythology that the entire world is a tiny object floating in the eye of a cosmically immense blue-eyed giant, Macumber, M-A-C-U-M-B-E-R. That is a myth that George Martin wrote about. There's no myth about Macumber. And Bran said, maybe we do. Maybe we do live there. Well, what do we know about the Isle of Faces? The Isle of Faces is supposedly where the last bastion of the werewolves are. That's where the werewolves are. That's where the green men may still exist. Maybe they are related to the children of the forest in some way. It is a special, special place. It's the werewood internet mainframe, in my opinion. So if that's where the Night King is going, he would have complete control over the world. He'd know everything forever.
And I still think he needs to destroy mankind first, because they're ultimately, he doesn't want to destroy them. He wants them to join him. It's not about violence, in my opinion. But I'm just adding that I think that that is the end game. But first, he needs to get everybody on his side or dead.
Okay. With respect to the mirroring thematically that's used here, Cersei loses her home. She blows it up. And the Night King basically decimates Winterfell. So both factions have lost homes and have to find refuge. Harry Strickland is the head of the Golden Company. I don't know if they'll still use his name in the show. But yeah, they're not going to stay with Cersei. I mean, you know, like what Bronn said, the dragons are a different story. We're not staying in this game. Cersei will be alone at the end. So just simply remember, Harrenhal and the God's Eye are extremely important. Werewolves are there. Possible green men. It probably is the mainframe for the historical references that Bran is still getting visions from. Okay, and that's all I have to say.
To add one tiny little thing about the Golden Company leaving is the conversation where Daario Naharis and Dany's people are having a conversation. The Golden Company has seen better odds and won, and Jorah says the Golden Company has seen better odds and run. Anything you would like to add?
Actually, he was talking about the Seven Sons, but it's the same thing.
Second Sons, sorry.
So it's a different sellsword company.
Right.
And I think it was actually formed by one of the bastards of the Targaryens.
It's the Bittersteel, who is the bastard who supported the Blackfires.
Mm-hmm.
So of the bastards, it was one of the bastards who said, my brother Blackfire was legitimized near the end and should be king, versus Bloodraven, who was the bastard child who supported the by marriage birth legitimacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also the Dance with Dragons had a huge battle at the God's Eye.
Yeah. Did they? I don't remember that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A smaller dragon going up, and the larger dragon chasing it into the clouds, only for the small one to come back, and the person to literally jump off the dragon and plunge his sword into the other person. Both dragons hit each other, and they ended up falling.
All right. Remember, Harrenhal, God's Eye.
We're forgetting stuff, I guarantee it. We're just in a huge rush. We love you. This has been 5.5 years of us doing this. It's the end of an era. We love you all. Thank you all for watching. I hope that y'all have had fun, and we've had a good time discussing all of these. This community is a fantastic community. I can't thank y'all enough. It's
Love you.
surreal, emotional.
Thank you all.
Lovely and tragic. I love you. Bye.
Mwah.